Thank you for joining me. Today we're gonna make a salad with beets, blood oranges, and a lemon balm dressing. We're gonna start by making the beets because this takes a long time to bake. And so I bought these beets at the store and it seems that they have been cut, which is unfortunate. If you can find beets that have the stems on top, it is always best to twist off the stems and not have a severed cut, because when you do this, the beets will bleed out into your pan. But let's not worry about that. We're gonna use the beets that we have today and make sure that you wash them first. We are gonna peel them after we bake them, and so they don't have to be scrubbed perfectly clean. So these beets have been washed and cut already. I'm gonna start by adding them to this little oven-safe dish. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of water to the bottom of the pan. Not much, just about a half a cup. And then I'm gonna cover the top with foil. Then I'm gonna put these in the oven. I usually roast my beets around 375. But beets are not very picky, and if you've got a higher temperature oven or a lower temperature oven, it's gonna be just fine. And depending on the size of the beet, that's how long you need to cook it for. These are relatively small to maybe medium-sized beets, and these will cook for about 30 to 45 minutes. But if you have these gargantuan-style beets, those will cook for up to an hour. And you can know by taking a fork and testing it to see if you can pierce through, and then you'll know that they're done. The next thing we're gonna do is prep the lemon balm dressing. I harvested this from my garden. Lemon balm is such an amazing herb, so often overlooked in the culinary world, but it helps calm the nervous and the digestive system. It can be used as a mild sedative if you suffer from insomnia. It's used to treat heartache and depression. This is a beloved herb for children, actually. It's used to soothe children with nightmares, and it's also an aid for ADD and ADHD. It's rich in polyphenols, making it a strong antiviral. So strong, in fact, that it's often used to treat herpes. So this is not to be missed, this beautiful herb, which smells amazing, so lemony, so fresh, so invigorating. So I'm gonna take it over and wash it. We're just gonna blend up this entire thing, either in a blender or a food processor. Lemon balm has a soft enough stem that you can even put the stems in there. So today I'm using a food processor. And I'm just gonna stuff as much lemon balm as will fit into this little guy here. And then the base for all salad dressings is a fat to acid ratio. So you want 3 parts fat to 1 part acid, meaning that if you have 3/4 cups of olive oil, you're gonna need about 1/4 cup of vinegar or lemon juice. I'm gonna use lemon juice in this just to bring out the lemon flavor in this, but you can use any acid that you like, any vinegar that you have around in its place. So I'm gonna need to use the whole lemon for this to get the amount that I want. Okay, I'm gonna get some olive oil, a little bit of honey, and some salt and pepper. So for this amount of lemon balm, I'm gonna use about 3/4 cup of olive oil. And then always more salt than you'd think, because this is a seasoning, you know, it's supposed to add the flavor to your salad. And so I would say about 1.5 teaspoons. And then some fresh cracked black pepper. And about 1 teaspoon of honey. The honey will sort of counteract any bitterness that might be in the lemon balm. And then we will just blend it all up. All right, that looks good. Time to take the beets out of the oven. I'm just gonna test and make sure these are done by sticking a fork in, and if they can easily go in, then they're ready to go. But these are much too hot to touch right now, so I'm gonna wait for them to cool before I start to peel them. All right, next I'm gonna cut up my blood oranges for the salad. I have these beautiful blood oranges from my tree. I'm using 3, but feel free to use as many or as few as you'd like. So when I'm using them in a salad, I want to cut off all of the rind. So I start by cutting off both ends like this, and then I set it down flat. And then I can cut away the sides. Because the peel itself can be bitter. And blood oranges are sour enough on their own. So from here, I'll cut it in half, cut it in half again, and then into quarters. I'm going to compost all of these orange peels. I have a little compost bin down here. And my lucky chickens are going to get all of this goodness. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is wash this salad. Have these beautiful heads of lettuce from the garden. So I'm going to start by tearing off the outer leaves and then ripping them into bite-sized pieces as I put them into my salad spinner. And if you ever find that your lettuce is wilting, you can always perk it up by adding some ice cubes to your water. That'll crisp back up your lettuce. Now it's time to peel and chop the beets. So these have cooled down enough so that I can touch them with my hands. And you should know that this beet juice will stain anything it touches. So be mindful of that. You can use a peeler if you like, but for me, it's just easier just to use a knife when peeling beets. And similarly to the blood oranges, I like to start by cutting off the ends. And then you can use your fingers to peel the skin off. So I think I'll peel off the skin of all of them and then begin the chopping. All right, now I'm going to cut these into similar shapes as the blood orange. All right, first I'm going to wash my hands and then we will dress the salad, toss it, and finish it. I always like to zhuzh up my salad dressing before I toss. So I'm going to give it a quick little pulse just in case things have settled to the bottom. And we're good to go. Perfect. Okay. All right, now I'm just going to add some flowers from the garden because I can't help myself. And this salad is such a wonderful way to be able to eat the whole rainbow, which is something we should all try to do every day. And these flowers, especially these little blue borages, are going to help us do that. Beautiful cilantro blossoms, chamomile, and nasturtiums. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoy.